It's your boy Frankie Nunez here with a new episode of the LOL Podcast. This is our pregame episode of the LOL Podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about what we've seen so far. We've got some great guests on the show. We're going to have Biltmore Driver Center John Kossin on the show. We're going to have Coach Holmes interviewing Matt King of the drivers, and Coach Dan is going to be interviewing Frank Semisa. So we're going to have a lot of the Biltmore drivers represented here. And we're going to talk a lot about what they've looked like in the preseason as they've been pretty dominant. So we're going to be right back with John Kossin. All right, we're back on the LOL Podcast. I'm here joined by John Kossin. John, welcome to the show.
Hey, what's going on?
We're living the dream here. John, tell me a little bit. You're entering year 2. Tell me a little bit about the differences between year 1 and year 2.
Just get more accustomed to the game. I'm coming in a little late in the game here at the ripe old age of 35, and a lot of you youngins been doing this since your early 20s.
Tell me a little bit about the differences between Coach Holmes and Coach Colin Tully.
Well, Coach Holmes is just, a crackhead, which really makes him a great player, though. He's sporadic. He runs like he's on a heavy dose of drugs, which he always is, and he catches the ball that way, too, which is really entertaining to watch.
With his dick.
Yeah. He does.
And what about Colin?
Colin's great. His penis is probably very handsome as well. So
I'm not sure on size of Colin's penis. And what about your play? How happy have you been with the way you've attacked this offense? Frank's offenses can be a little bit weird, a little bit sporadic on purpose, in a sense that they're trying to mask a lot of what they're doing. Has it been hard to pick up?
Yeah, it's been hard to pick up because I'm kind of semi-retarded. Also, I suck really bad.
You've had a great preseason. You've got probably 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah. I was averaging pretty good for a while there.
You've played great.
Yeah, Frank throws the ball extremely accurately, so it's hard to not catch the ball usually when he throws it to you.
He's looked very sharp these last few weeks. Now, what about you guys? Obviously, have had. It's been the talk of your team and of some other teams. You had a playbook change midway through this preseason. What are the pros? What are the cons?
Well, Frank's a genius. You can tell that by the pillows on his house. He's extremely wealthy and intelligent.
Sure.
He's an offensive genius. Simple as that.
So you've been happy with the direction of the playbook?
Yeah, most of the plays don't involve me at all, which is great for me. And then when they do, nobody expects it. And all of a sudden, I'm actually running at full speed, which is very slow.
As a guy that people have said on this show, at draft night, people have said, oh, John Kossin is underrated. Watch out for John Kossin. Who do you believe on this team is underrated? Who do you expect to see a lot out of on this team?
Better watch out for this Jamiroquai guy over here.
You're talking, of course, about Matt King.
Yeah. Better watch out. He hasn't come to that many practices, but when he does, Frank does a good job of making sure that he's getting reps and getting catches. And
yeah, I've been impressed with Matt.
He was burning Holmes up real bad.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that a little bit later for sure. What about some of the things you've touched on, Matt? You've touched on Colin. You've touched on Frank. What about what you've seen out of Ian? What about what you've seen out of JJ?
Ian, another guy, very athletic, equally handsome,
Sure.
JJ, when he doesn't have to take a shit and drive to 17 different places in Mastic Beach to do so, he's very electric on the field.
Yes, he definitely is. And I guess my most important question, the biggest question, you're playing, we only know, you're only guaranteed one game, and that one game is against Team Holmes. What have you seen out of Team Holmes? You were on this team last year. What have you seen out of them? What do you think they bring to the table?
Well, that team, what makes them really special is Justin. Justin's a great player, great leadership. We haven't seen Renzo that much this year, really at all. I mean, we didn't really see him that much last year either, but that guy can play too. And if he shows up on game day and he's able to sling the rock, better watch out. They got some speed.
As a person that was a part of that team last year, winning a championship in your rookie season, you look at the roster, it's built the same way, right? Renzo, Justin. Yes, they lose Del Monte, but they get Wesley. Yes, they lose Josh, but they get Zach, his carbon copy. The team is so similar. Do you think they can have a legitimate chance at repeating, or do you think the lack of continuity and practice time is going to come back to bite them?
Well, You know, I kind of had my doubts last year, too. I was like, this is a team that's either going to completely shit the bed or we're just going to wow everybody. And everything kind of seemed to click that day, you know.
Right.
You watched the film and the first couple drives didn't look very good, and I was a little worried at that time. But next thing you know, click, 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 touchdown.
Whenever you have an elite quarterback, and Renzo could be the best, you always have a chance. So you cannot underestimate that team, in my opinion.
Absolutely, yeah. And Justin, with his defensive play and his game planning and their scheme over there, you better watch out for them.
So the only other team we've seen a lot of is the neighborhood roadies, Nick Muse's team. We've seen plenty of their starting quarterback, Nick DeRossi, their best players in Evan and Jesus, Kevin McCarthy, Shu himself. What have you seen out of that team? What do you like?
That team's another team that that I was telling Nick, his broken plays go better sometimes than their scripted plays.
Sure.
I don't know how, but he just flips it up in the air and someone catches it and runs for a touchdown. They have maybe one of the most electric players in the whole league in Evan. That guy's unbelievable. He just chucked the rock up there and he's catching it and running off.
You're someone that gets talked about as somebody that's always improving. So is Matt Warner. What about your constant beef on the field with Matt Warner?
I don't have any beef with Matt. I love Matt. Just we always seem to be covering each other because we're probably the two slowest guys in the whole damn league. And I am probably a little bigger than him and accidentally bump into him, put his ass in the dirt. Last week it was accidental, though. He just kind of chased after me and slid out.
I have been impressed with Matt. I think he's made some really good strides in the right direction. He had that great touchdown grab last week that was that really blew my mind. It was not an easy catch all the way to the outside corner. So I've liked what I've seen from Matt. Who are some other guys that you found yourself guarding that you think maybe could have a big game day?
Dingo is one of those guys. Sure. I remember watching him last year and being like, that's the spot I got to be in. I got to play center. I got to learn how to block better. I got to learn how to do those underneath routes and then all of a sudden blast out over the top when no one expects it and catch a big pass.
Well, speaking of blocking, the Biltmore Drivers rushing attack with Ian Tully as the ball carrier got off to an unbelievable jump last week. You obviously anchored that blocking attack. Do you think the run game is going to play a big factor for Team Tully?
I believe so, yeah. People are going to be afraid of Frank's arm, and probably also a little dependent on the weather. Last year, I know we had a wet, rainy day.
Sure.
It's been raining like every damn day this whole winter, so I'm putting my money on it being rainy again. I look up and I say, who's the guy I'm most worried about actually making this tag? And I just run right at that guy.
That's the only way to block in a two-hand touch league, so that's very smart. And Ian's done such a good job with the ball in his hands. I think the rushing attack could play a major role. I mean, I think it could be huge for this team.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, that was John Kossin, and we'll be right back with Coach Holmes interviewing Matt King.
Okay, and we're back. This is the pregame episode of the LOL podcast for the 2024 season, and I am Coach Holmes, and I am here with the anticipated Matt King. Matt, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good.
You good? You look good.
Thank you.
It looks like you were kind of assuming there was going to be video for this episode.
Yeah, 50-50 shot.
So if I'm reviewing my notes correctly, there must be some type of error in them. How many game day touchdowns do you have?
1.
Okay, and how many wins do you have as a player?
I have no wins.
Okay, so they were right.
Accurate. So far, it's accurate.
Yeah.
What's the fucking point? Exactly.
Oh, I
thought you said it was highly anticipated. This is highly anticipated.
Did we? I think we talked about this before the interview started. There will be no questions towards me, only to you. How do you think that this game day is going to play out? In your honest opinion, this is not a joke, not a trick question. You guys are looking pretty good. I know you haven't seen much of the Mothmen, and that's not my fault, but that's a different story.
Whose fault is it?
Well, the people who don't come to practice. That's Justin. He's a dedicated guy. So am I. But other than that, you got an injured quarterback. A guy with one hand.
All right, that's enough. Shut the fuck up. I thought I wasn't allowed to ask questions.
So how do you think game day is going to go?
Game day for us, we're playing you first, right?
Yes.
We're playing Coach Holmes. So if you're looking at that lineup, I think it goes well for the drivers. I think we will dominate.
That's the way it looks.
I think there's a lot of speed, there's a lot of danger, and there's going to be what the problem is with Coach Holmes' team is there's going to be a lot of fucking confusion. on Coach Holmes' team
Is
by
that-
Coach Holmes himself.
Is that how it was last year?
That's how it is every time I show up to practice. Coach Holmes is confused, falling down, tripping over his fucking dick.
Okay. You know, I'm right here, right?
And then it's me scoring touchdowns in your face. In your face.
I don't think so. So if you had to pick one team that you would say would be a good competition for the drivers, because obviously the drivers look probably, I would say, maybe one of the better teams, if not the best teams right now.
Probably.
If you had to pick one team, let's just say you wouldn't want to verse or you think would be a good match, who would it be?
I think we're ready for anyone. You'd have to build a fantasy team. You'd have to go back to the draft and redraft your shitty team for us to verse somebody that I think would challenge us. Because the way it looks right now, the drivers are dominating. I think we're going to continue to dominate. If you look at our lineup, you have Colin, Ian, JJ, and you haven't even gotten to me yet, who's scoring touchdowns in your face left and right every practice. And I don't know who's gonna guard me. You're talking all this smack. So why don't you defend me during game day, and we'll see what happens.
Is me saying that the drivers look like the best team right now talking a lot of smack?
Yes, you lined up this whole interview to talk shit.
No, I didn't. I didn't even know.
You read out my fucking stats first thing. No wins and 1 fucking touchdown. What's that about then? That's not shit. You're right. No, you're right.
I think you're the one that said those stats. I did not say anything.
I said the stats. You read the stats.
No, I asked you what your stats were, and you said them.
Next question. Next fucking question.
All right, so let's just say if you guys do win your first game, okay, which that is, I will be honest with you, you guys look good, okay? That's probably the way it might play out.
Okay.
Maybe. But what team would you not want to verse the second game?
Draw it up for me a little bit. Who do we have in the other?
Okay, so the other two teams. So you have the Smokes and you have the Roadies. Which team of those two would you rather not play?
Here's what I think. I think Dan is competitive as a coach. I think he draws up some creative plays, and we saw him take down Frank Semisa at quarterback last year, so I think he has a lot to work with.
Yep.
And I know on the other side of that, you have fucking some very competitive offensive players like Evan and guys like that who can do a lot of damage. So I would probably prefer to not play the Smokes. I think I'd rather not play the Smokes.
So you don't think the Roadies' bark is worse than their bite?
I don't even know what that fucking means, but sure. I'd rather not play the Smokes. I'd rather play the Roadies.
Okay. Well, that might happen.
It probably fucking will. We're going to smoke you, dude.
No, that might happen. What's your so let's walk me through your steps come the night before game day. What do you do to get ready? How do you maximize your potential for game day? Do you jerk off the night before or do you not?
Absolutely, I will.
Okay.
I would try not to, but I will fail.
I've done that every year before game day. The day before, I'm like, I'm not going to jerk off for like 2-3 days, and I jerk off all those days.
It's tough, dude.
I'm always like, I want to see what happens. If maybe I'll be better because like Mike Tyson said, like
semen retention.
Yeah, so I was like, I gotta try that shit.
All the biggest athletes are doing it.
Do you think it works?
You have to ask winners. I've never won.
Okay,
I don't know.
So walk me through this pre-game before game day. How do you get ready?
I'm a pretty athletic person, so I will be going to bed very late. I'll be waking up 5 minutes before I have to leave, throwing on my fucking jersey and going to the game and scoring touchdowns in your face.
Okay, so what do you think the likelihood is that Ian and or Colin are in Bayside 5 minutes before the game starts?
High, like 100%.
But they'll be there.
They'll be there,
even if they have to fly.
You know they'll get there. They'll be there before you.
I don't think that's
You've been
true.
late every week. We said even tonight recording this podcast for the people. We want to be here at 5 o'clock. You push it back to 6 o'clock. You got here at 6:45.
Well, I'm sorry, but everyone in this room right now does not work besides me.
Well, some of us work smarter. Some of us work harder.
I guess I'm smarter. All right. Well, I mean, that was a pretty good interview.
Was it?
I wish you very much luck come game day.
I wish you very much luck.
I hope you get your first
Will
win.
you defend me in our game?
If that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Okay, I look forward to that.
All right. Peace, man.
Thank you.
All right, Frank Semisa here with the champ, the one and only Frank Semisa. Frank, this is your second time on the Drivers.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about your relationship with those guys, Colin, Ian? What are you looking forward to this year? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, it's just luck that Ian's been on the team with me. Ian's, not an owner, so we're happy to have him. But my relationship with Colin, with Coach Tully, it couldn't be better. It's unfair. You know what I mean? He's such a dominant player. He's probably a high pick if he's not a coach. So to start, with Colin, it's a huge advantage for us, and I love playing with him. I love the freedom he gives me. It's a great fit.
Better than starting with me, that's for sure. Can you give us a little teaser on the starting lineup? I mean, you got a lot of talent. You got at least 6 or 7 guys that could fit in.
I can tell you right now, starters for certain will be John Kossin, Frank Semisa, Ian and Colin. And that final spot will be between JJ and Matt. We'll see who shows up next week.
JJ and Matt, wow. JJ fighting for a starter spot.
We'll see who shows
would
up
have
next week.
thought about it? Frank, we didn't have you on the podcast last year or the beginning of this year.
Sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about last year's disappointment?
Yeah, it falls on me. I'm the quarterback. I was the leader. And at the end of the day, that Roadies team was good enough to win. And Shu, in my opinion, there's no single player. Forget about coach. There's no single player that's deserves a championship more than Nick Muse does. What he's done for the league, what he's done for his own organization. For whatever reason, when there's fans at the game, they're wearing Roadies jerseys. That's the fan favorite team.
100%.
They're loved, and they haven't gotten it done yet. And I wanted to be the one to do it, and I failed Shu, and I'll always owe him for that. And I hope one day I get the chance to make it up to him, but it won't be this year.
Okay, all right. Listen, you're the best quarterback, best player, best, secondary coach, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about what goes on in the preparation off the field. A lot of us have seen your documentaries, Highway to 9, 789, whatever it's been. Tell us a little bit about that. Give us a brief little.
Well, a lot of that stuff is real. A lot of that stuff is for the fans. Holmes is he's Steven Spielberg. He's George Lucas. And when Holmes comes up with a brilliant idea, I have no choice but to play along. First of all, I get paid a lot of money to do those things. And it's basically a script I read. And is that script loosely based on my life? Yes, of course it is. But
is the breakfast cereal real? Tell us that's real. That's what everyone wants to know.
There are ingredients that are real.
Okay.
There are ingredients that are real.
Tell us a little bit about what goes on in your head as you're dropping back into the pocket. Once that ball is snapped.
It's hard, right? Like when Nick Gerasi drops back, he knows where he's going before he even calls the fucking play because he's bad. When Dan O'Shea drops back, he's looking for whoever's closest to him.
100%.
When Frank Semisa drops back, I'm waiting for the skies to part. I'm waiting for that beam, that ray of light to shine on the open man, and I go where God tells me to.
So you're scanning the field as best as possible. You don't really have a read progression as much?
No, I'm waiting for God to give me the sign, and God makes everything possible. God makes everything happen. Allah.
Okay, all right. So it's not Satan. So okay, all right. You guys are obviously the odds-on favorite. Tell me what team or what players are sticking out from other teams that are catching your eye that you expect a lot out of this year outside of the Drivers.
Unfortunately, I can't comment on anybody on the Smokes. Unfortunately, I really can't comment on anybody on the Mothman. Shu's team's been great. Yeah. The Roadies have been great, and you can't talk about the Roadies without talking about Evan. He's unfucking believable.
Big time.
We can't sit here and say, like, oh, Jesus underrated. He's not underrated anymore. He's very good. Dingo's underrated. Dingo, no, he's very fucking good.
Yeah.
And we knew that Evan was going to be good because he got picked with the 2nd overall pick.
Yeah.
So we knew he would be good. Did we know he would be this good? Did we know he'd be arguably the best player in the league? God damn, is he fucking good. And let me tell you something else. I already touched on it once that Nick Muse deserves it, but Nick Muse is playing like a 2nd or 3rd round pick.
Oh, 100%.
He's been unfucking real. He deserves all the credit in the world. That team is going to be tough for anybody that plays him.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get more into that with my interview, but I'm a little bit nervous of them. And,
Yeah.
They've been there every week in, week out. So we'll see. On a personal note, your father, Frankie Sr.,
Yeah.
making much more of an appearance this year. Week in, week out, he's been there. He's been leaning on that fence. Is he going to be at game day? Is he going to spend the whole game there? And who, if anybody, is he betting on? Do you think he's putting actual money on it?
He will not be there for the duration of the game. He will get there before the field is lined, and he will be gone before the field is lined. That is his move. That's what he does. Yeah. When I first told my father I was playing rugby, he came to a game, and I had a pair of sports goggles, and the ref told me I can't wear them. He said there's too much metal in them, it's dangerous. So I gave them to my father and said I have to go without glasses. And he said, I'll never watch you play sports. That's what he said to me. He was like, you're going in there, you can't see anything. If you can't see, why should I see you? That was his exact quote. And he left. And he'll never watch me do anything. So who he's betting on, I mean, listen, Vegas, if you have DraftKings, if you have FanDuel, obviously you want to slam the Biltmore drivers as your pick. We're the odds-on favorite, and it seems like easy money. But if there's one bet that I think everybody out there should make on FanDuel, it's Matt Warner to receive a touchdown.
Wow.
Matt Warner to receive a touchdown. The odds on it are not high because he doesn't have one, but I can guarantee you he will have one touchdown.
Guarantee?
Yes.
Okay. Any more guarantees? Are you guaranteeing a win for the drivers?
I'm guaranteeing that the drivers will compete on every single play.
Okay, so a cop-out answer. Okay,
yes,
that's okay.
That's
all right. I don't know if you've heard the rumors. They've been circulating around a little bit. The rumor has it that Coach Holmes might be out of the league in the next year or two. There's been some disciplinary issues. There's been some very sketchy dealings. There's been some drug addiction issues and everything. There was a violence with snow and ice the other day, and a lot of stuff like that. Can you speak on that? Is any of that true?
Well, the league is still going over disciplinary action. We've been stalled on it, but disciplinary actions for him, Matt King, and Nick Del Monte's behavior on draft night.
Wow.
These three guys were out of fucking control. They fucking took it to a level it didn't have to go in. That bathroom, the bathroom was a bigger party than the fucking draft room.
Yeah.
And these guys need to be addressed. Holmes, whether Holmes retires or Holmes gets suspended, at the end of the day, Holmes is always going to be a part of this league. I don't think the Mothmen will ever not be owned by Holmes, even if he doesn't play.
Okay. All right. So he just got carte blanche to just do whatever he wants. Okay. I got it.
Of course.
It's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah, that's interesting. I always thought that that draft night was kind of a safe zone for disciplinary action. It
wasn't. Ask Nick Del Monte's woman. It wasn't very safe. It wasn't very safe. I had to drive her home.
Wow.
It sucked.
And she was going to make her debut playing this year.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
That's funny.
You drafted her.
Yeah. The photos doesn't lie. All right. Well, that's all I got. Anything else you want to add on?
No, I'm very excited. This is probably going to be the last episode and the last interview before game day. I'm excited for game day, and I'm excited to do the post-game episode as well. Everybody should look out for that. And it's been awesome so far this year, and I just want to thank everyone who's been a part of it. Attendance has been much better than it was when we had those bad weather weeks, and it's been a lot of fun. I'm excited for the game.
The one and only Frank Semisa. Thank you so much.
Peace. All right, that's perfect.
Do you want to stop the recording?
Sure. Matt's going to catch a touchdown.